Have you ever lain in bed, your body weary yet your mind refuses to rest? Today's memories keep replaying, things left undone, words you wish you had never spoken, and in the darkness, you simply wish for one thing: to sleep deeply, peacefully. But sleep, the simplest act, sometimes feels like a luxury. Not because you are not tired enough, but because your mind has not been put down. In Buddhist meditation, sleep is seen as a spiritual gateway, where true letting go begins. For centuries, meditation masters have quietly whispered 5 sacred phrases before sleep. Not to wish for something, but to return to stillness, to gratitude, to yourself. In this video, we embark on that journey together. No need to strive, no need to fully understand. Just bring an open heart and a genuine longing for inner peace. Allow these 5 Buddhist phrases to lull you into sleep, not merely to rest, but to gently heal your soul from within. You may wonder, how can just a few simple phrases help ease your mind and deepen sleep? But in meditation, what appears small often opens deep realms. Not because the words are magical, but because the mindset you bring to them creates transformation. Through centuries of monastic practice, meditation masters distilled 5 sacred phrases, spoken at day's end as a tranquil, sacred ritual, to close the old day with peace and open space for inner light. These are not mantras to memorize mechanically. They are gentle steps leading your mind from tension into deep relaxation. Each phrase a doorway into acknowledgement, letting go, calmness, trust, and finally complete acceptance. Imagine that each night before closing your eyes, you do not let your mind remain tangled, nor allow memories to pull you into the past or worries drag you into tomorrow. Instead, you release into an ancient stream of meditation, where each phrase flows like water droplets onto the lake of your inner being. Each ripple soothing silent exhaustion within. Sleep then becomes more than darkness disconnecting you. It becomes a healing ritual for your body, your heart, your thoughts. What are those 5 phrases? They are not lofty teachings, but distilled from deep experience of meditation masters. People who lived fully with each breath, each mindful night. The first phrase invites gratitude, no matter how the day went. The second invites letting go, what no longer nurtured your soul. The third calls you back to primordial stillness, already inherent within you. The fourth guides you to your heart, where true wisdom waits to be heard. And the final phrase, the deepest, acknowledging that you are enough. Life is enough, and you can find peace with what is. We will gently explore each phrase, not rushing, not analyzing fully, but receiving them with openness and tenderness. In the meditation world, understanding does not come from the mind first, but from the heart, and sometimes, just one phrase, touching the right place needing soothing is enough to let sleep come like an old, gentle friend. Phrase 1. I am grateful for the journey of today. Repeat this in your heart softly. Just a whisper in midnight. Do not rush to analyze whether today is deserving of gratitude. Don't search memory for good deeds to justify gratefulness. Simply let the phrase flow through you like a small stream over stones. Patient, unhurried, uncompelled. In meditation, gratitude is not an emotion born when everything flows well. It is a way of seeing with understanding, recognizing that every moment, pleasant or painful, is integral to your awakening journey. A Zen story often told with gratitude in mind. An old farmer's horse runs away. Neighbors say, "How unfortunate." He quietly replies, "Maybe." Days later, the horse returns and brings 3 wild horses. Neighbors exclaim, "How wonderful." He responds again, "Maybe." Soon his son breaks his leg riding one of the horses. Neighbors lament, "What misfortune." He says, "Maybe." Shortly after, conscription takes young men to war. Unless they are injured, so the son is spared. What seemed good or bad melted into understanding that life's picture is never fully seen when events are still unfolding. This is gratitude in meditation, not coloring experiences, but softly acknowledging each moment as an essential piece of the whole. If you whispered this phrase tonight, you do not try to paint today as perfect. You simply smile with it, like smiling at a child learning to walk. Falling, rising, discovering life in its own way. Maybe today you spoke too harshly. Maybe you feel you did nothing useful. Or maybe you are just so tired you felt numb. Even so, you can still be grateful, not because every detail was perfect, but because you lived, you felt, you kept going, and now you pause to breathe, to return inward. Gratitude does not demand completion. It only needs a soul ready to accept. "I tried, and that is enough." A meditation master once said, "Gratitude does not change the world. It only makes your heart spacious enough to live in this world without feeling crushed." As you close your eyes and hold that phrase in your heart, you are expanding your soul's vessel into a lake, where droplets of sadness, joy, regret can fall, without clouding its clear water. The story of the salt cup and the lake is a fitting metaphor. When you dissolve salt in a cup of water and drink, it is bitter. But if you place the same amount in a lake and scoop a cup, the water remains fresh. Pain has not changed. What changed is the soul's capacity to hold. Let gratitude tonight transform you into that lake. Imagine a small moment today that made you quietly smile. Maybe sunlight streaming through a window, a bird singing on your balcony, an empathetic glance, or simply the fact that you are still present here. Sometimes, just looking back and saying, "Thank you," gives yourself a gift of peace. And if nothing comes to mind right now, just thank yourself for still breathing, still listening, still having the chance to rest, to heal, to begin again tomorrow. In that slow breath, in the faint light of your room, you are closing the day as meditation masters have always done. No judgment, no searching for faults, no comparisons, simply gratitude, gentle, complete, unconditional. Let that first meditation phrase become the lullaby that ushers in deep sleep. I am grateful for the journey of today. And if you're still wondering whether such a simple phrase can truly touch something deep in your soul, allow yourself to take a step back, breathe even more slowly, and hear another Zen story, soft as a night breeze, yet potent enough to open a new door in your heart. Once, a young monk felt dissatisfied with monastic life. He complained daily about bland meals, the cold wind whistling through the temple roof, the repetitive tasks with no novelty. One day, in frustration, he approached his teacher and said, "I see nothing here to be grateful for. I strive to practice, but everything feels exhausting and hollow." The teacher listened without argument, then quietly placed a handful of salt into the monk's hand. He led him to a small cup of water and told him to stir in the salt and drink. The taste was bitter and made the monk frown. Then the teacher brought him to a lake, told him to toss the remaining salt in, and scoop up some water from the lake to taste. It was cool and pleasant. The teacher smiled and said, "Suffering is like salt, you cannot remove it. But you can choose to be the cup or to be the lake." From that moment onward, the young monk learned to acknowledge hardship, not to erase it, but to expand his heart, to realize that gratitude does not come from abundance, but from spaciousness and acceptance. Whenever fatigue or dissatisfaction returned, he just gazed at the memory of the lake and whispered, "Today, no matter what happened, it is still worthy of gratitude." Perhaps you, too, have been like a cup when sadness, anger, or disappointment makes everything feel too much to bear. But there are days when you are the lake, quiet, deep enough to receive imperfection without collapse. Tonight, choose to be that lake, simply with a single, unadorned phrase. "I am grateful for the journey of today." You may believe there is nothing to be thankful for, but if you pause and listen, you will realize your presence right here, right now, is itself a miracle. Not everyone wakes up to sit quietly and say thank you to another day lived. Countless souls go to sleep with anxiety tearing them apart. Countless never awaken again. So, as long as you still breathe, still perceive the flow of time, still can close your eyes in peace, that alone is reason enough to be thankful. Gratitude does not demand happiness. It simply invites you to open your heart. It does not ask you to ignore pain. It gently whispers, "Look at the whole picture and see that cracks are where the light has slipped through." Today, even if there were moments when you wanted to give up, if there were actions you made wrong, or emotions you could not name, all of it deserves recognition as part of your journey. Because this journey is not meant to make you perfect, but to bring you closer to your true self. Try placing your hand over your left chest, right where your heart beats without needing reminding, and softly whisper this phrase with all your sincerity: "I am grateful for the journey of today." Do not demand that emotion appear immediately. Sometimes the feeling comes after the phrase. Sometimes you feel only a deep silence within, and that silence itself is the gift. Because gratitude needs no applause, nor fireworks. It only requires a subtle bow, like a student bowing quietly to the day that has passed. Gentle, non-judgmental, unconditional. Tonight, allow yourself to drift with that phrase. Let every cell of your body hear its tenderness. Permit your mind to stop struggling and let yourself fall down like a last leaf drifting off the branch in an autumn breeze. When gratitude is truly present, sleep is no longer an escape from life. It becomes a continuation, peaceful, serene, sacred, of the journey you are living. And if you remain awake, if your mind still resists release, allow me to share another story, a fragment of Zen as light as a nocturnal breeze, yet strong enough to open a new space within you. Long ago, a young monk entered early years of training. He practiced diligently, waking early to chant sutras, sweeping the courtyard, meditating for hours, yet he always wore a solemn face, as if waging battle with himself and the world. One night, as he sat alone in the meditation hall, his teacher entered and quietly placed before him a lamp that was unlit. The teacher asked, "What do you see in this lamp?" The student answered, "Just an old object with no light." The teacher nodded. then quietly poured oil in, struck a flame, and lit the lamp. The small flame spread, reflecting softly on the still walls. The teacher asked again, "What do you see now?" The monk replied, "I see light." The teacher smiled. "Then you understand gratitude. Everything in life is like this lamp. Sometimes it is dark, sometimes it shines. But if you only look at its darkness, you will miss its greatest truth. It has illuminated before, and still can be lit again, if you learn how to pour oil. If you learn how to be grateful." That simple tale carries deep meaning. How many days in your life did you dismiss as not good enough? How many experiences have you quickly labeled as meaningless? Failures? Wasted? The truth is, no day is wasted. Each day is a lamp, sometimes bright, sometimes dark, but always ready to be lit again, if you choose to look upon it with the eyes of gratitude. And just as a lamp requires oil to shine, your mind requires nourishment from gentle acknowledgement, a non-judgmental gaze, and a simple phrase, "I am grateful for the journey of today." Because you cannot only appreciate the beautiful parts and reject the rest. Life never separates beauty from roughness. Like an ink painting where bold strokes and white space together form harmony. Days that did not go well also contribute to shaping your soul. Gratitude is not about turning unpleasant into pleasant. It is accepting that unpleasant arrived to teach you something, to challenge you, to shine light into parts of you not yet soothed, and then to eventually depart. And when you quietly tell yourself, "Even though today did not turn out as I hoped, I still deeply appreciate that I lived it fully." In that instant, you are no longer a victim of a bad day. You become the witness, the learner, the one who bows in humility, and that is the root of wisdom. It is like walking along a gravel-strewn path. You may feel pain in your feet. You may complain. But if you look back and realize that those very stones have sharpened your awareness, made you cautious, and helped you walk more steadily, then you begin to say, "Thank you." Not only for smooth paths but also for the rugged ones that tested you. What's more, that small detail matters deeply, is that by repeating this phrase every night, you are creating for your mind a new habit, to look back on a day not for fault-finding or regret, but for acceptance and recognition, instead of lying awake with what-ifs and should-haves. You allow yourself to relax into gratitude, a mindset where everything, even the unfinished parts, has its place within your unfolding journey. When you are grateful, there is no need to rewrite the past. You simply embrace it, like a mother gently embraces her child returning home dirty from play, without scolding. Only softly wiping their face and smiling. "You've played enough. Now rest." And perhaps, you too need to be held like that tonight, not because you accomplished something grand, but because you showed up for your life today. Let this meditation phrase, as light as a breath, flow through your body, through every tense muscle fiber, through the swirling thoughts, and even through the silent spaces you have not named. Let it settle within you like the toll of a bell in the still night. I am grateful for the journey of today. And if tears fall, whether from exhaustion, deep feeling, or simply recognizing that you survived another day, that is also part of gratitude, real, humane, elemental. If there remains in your heart a gap, a part that has not yet truly encountered gratitude, a fold in your soul still closing in, then allow it to be. Do not force yourself to feel. For even by sitting here, listening, slowing down, questioning gratitude, you signal that your mind is shifting, gently. Like a door cracking open in the night. Gratitude does not need to appear as a vibrant emotion. It can arrive quietly, like a warm breath slipping through interlaced fingers on a cold morning. And sometimes, the simple Zen stories that monks share at day's end, by candlelight and the sound of wind rustling roof tiles, are enough to awaken a silent understanding of gratitude without lengthy explanations. There is such a story. A student believed there was nothing in his life worthy of gratitude. He complained that monastic life was harsh, the meals plain, the routines monotonous and uninteresting, a dreary daily loop. Seeking guidance, he approached his master. The master said nothing at first. He handed his student a cup and led him to a well. Each morning, my first task is to draw water from this well to wash my face. He scooped water into the cup and gave it to the student, saying, "Look at this water carefully." The student did, but saw nothing special. Then the master asked, "What do you see?" "Only water," replied the student. "Then pour it away," said the master. "Come back tomorrow and repeat. Every single day." The student followed, day by day, drawing water, gazing at it, and pouring it out. Each time the cup looked the same, but he had changed. Gradually he began to notice what he had never considered: sunlight sparkling on the surface, the distant call of roosters, the coolness as water slid over his hand, and even his own breath while stooping to draw each scoop. One morning, as he lifted the cup and looked, he laughed, a soft, deep laughter. He turned to his teacher and said, "I understand now. Even the most ordinary cup of water, repeated daily, becomes a miracle if I stop and look closely." The master merely smiled, knowing the student had taken the first steps into the world of gratitude. And you? How many moments in today did you overlook, dismiss as ordinary, label meaningless? A hurried embrace, a breeze brushing your hair as you opened the door, someone's affectionate glance, the subtle aroma from a warm pot of soup. None of these moments shouted, none were grand, but if you pause long enough, they transform into miracles, and gratitude naturally arises without force. For life, even full of fatigue and incompleteness, continually offers you its most subtle, quiet, profound gifts, like the sunrise that still comes whether you welcome it or not, and like your breath that continues even when you forget it. When you whisper this phrase, "I am grateful for the journey of today," you need not recall every detail. Just nod with yourself, "Yes, I have walked through another day. Imperfect, but real." And that reality, that you lived fully even amid imperfection, is what deserves gratitude more than anything else. Not your accomplishments, but your presence in each moment. Even when you felt lost, weak, or barely managing to stand after a too long day. Gratitude is not reserved for the successful or serene. It is a gift to those who dare turn inward and acknowledge everything that passed, without judgment. Tonight, in this quiet space, when all noise recedes from the edges of your mind, let this gratitude enfold you like a warm blanket, not to escape tomorrow, but to let you enter sleep with a lighter, wider, more peaceful heart. I am grateful for the journey of today. A simple phrase, but when spoken with true sincerity, it can transform darkness into sanctuary. No explanations needed, no more corrections required, only gratitude. And let yourself fall like the final leaf of autumn, to descend in peace. Unburdened. In Zen teachings, letting go is not denial, nor is it forgetting. Letting go is a conscious act, a moment of clear seeing, followed by a gentle decision to lay something down when its role has been fulfilled. Here's a well-known story familiar to any Zen practitioner. Two monks were returning to their monastery when they came across a young woman by a river, struggling to cross with her muddy dress caught. The senior monk quietly lifted her onto his back, carried her across, and placed her gently on the other side. The younger monk followed in silence, his face tight with unease. Only later, near the monastery, did he blurt out, "Master, why did you carry her? We are monks, we shouldn't touch women." The older monk calmly replied, "I set her down at the riverbank. You are still carrying her." Simple, but striking. How many things from today are still weighing you down? A harsh word, a dismissive glance, a mistake you keep replaying, something you cannot yet forgive in others or yourself. We rarely notice how these small, persistent burdens become stones in our spiritual luggage, useless now. Yet we carry them because we fear emptiness. But emptiness might be the very space where peace can enter. Tonight, in this moment, you can choose to do differently. You do not need to master letting go. Simply place your hand over your heart, breathe slowly, and whisper within, "I let go of what no longer serves me." This phrase is not about immediate forgiveness or forced forgetting. It allows you to exhale a long, deep breath from your core to make room for something lighter, clearer. Maybe it's an unspoken anger, a disappointment, a self-criticism, real, but not required forever. Zen teacher Ajahn Chah once said, "If you set down a glass of water, you'll feel your hand become lighter." Letting go doesn't need to be elaborate. Sometimes it's a silent choice. I will not carry this into sleep. You don't need to untangle every reason or feeling. Just be honest with yourself. This no longer helps me grow. It no longer nourishes me. And I'm willing to lay it down, not out of resentment, but grateful it was once part of me. Another story. A practitioner asked his teacher, "How can I keep my mind steady in a changing world?" The teacher didn't respond but led him to a stream. They watched water flow around rocks, curve through bends, gently continuing. After some time of silence, the teacher said, "See? The stream doesn't cling to any shape. It doesn't cling to stones. It doesn't resist. It just flows. That is freedom. You too can flow, not by forgetting, but by releasing." Feel this in your body. Shoulders relax. Your hands feel lighter. Your breath slows. These are signs your system says, "Thank you. Thank you for laying it down." If you close your eyes now, imagine you stand by a river holding what you once carried, a grievance, an anxiety, a regret. You don't throw them away. You gently place them on the surface and watch them float away. No hurry, no chasing, no glancing back, because you understand. Letting go is not losing, it is opening. Your breath continues. You remain present, and everything you once carried now dissolves softly into the night. You don't need to cling anymore. You don't need to remember anymore. The night has come to heal. Let this Zen phrase become your key into inner stillness. I let go of what no longer serves me. Like a river that doesn't hold onto old drops. Like a tree that doesn't cling to every autumn leaf. You too can gently release what no longer helps you grow. If you still hesitate, unsure how to truly release something old, that's okay. Zen isn't about racing to let go fastest. It's a journey home, slow, truthful, without force. Letting go is gentle, not with muscle, but with understanding, and that understanding arises when we stop resisting. True letting go doesn't start with a shout, "I must escape this," but with a quiet gaze upon what we still carry: old grief, anger, memories, seen with eyes no longer fighting, like a breeze turning over a dry leaf without force, to remind us, time has passed, seasons have changed, and you can softly leave behind what once was part of you. Let me share one more old Zen story, a story many students carry in their minds long after. A man came to a Zen master, visibly worn by suffering. He had been betrayed by his closest friend, lost money, reputation, yet years later, every night the memory haunted him, stealing his rest. He'd tried to forgive, to forget, without success. The master listened quietly. Then he stepped outside, picked a hollow, dried gourd, and gave it to the man, telling him to wear it around his neck, everywhere, without taking it off. And so he did, each day. The weight of the gourd reminding him, and others stared. People gossiped. Some avoided him. After a week, he returned to the monastery, exhausted. "I cannot carry this anymore. It's useless, burdensome, and people think I'm insane." The master smiled kindly and said, "Then you may set it down. You did not have to carry it from the start, but you chose to. Like your anger, your resentment, it happened, but whether to keep it or release it is your choice. Every day." Perhaps this resonates. Maybe you are still carrying something, not because it's necessary, but because you got used to carrying it. But accustomed isn't always helpful. Some burdens once protected us, but now they chain us. Some emotions once helped us survive, but now they exhaust us. And you don't need a grand reason to release them. You only need one truth: it no longer serves you. And tonight, as silence gradually envelops everything, look within yourself. What is weighing you down the most? What is repeating endlessly yet leading nowhere? What is taking away your peace more than helping you heal? You do not need to change your whole life right now. But you can choose one thing, just one thing, to put down. Like a traveler removing a heavy backpack after a long journey. Like a musician stopping a note that has gone out of tune. Like a river releasing a drop of water that has dried up. Letting go does not make you weak. On the contrary, it demands great courage, the courage to acknowledge that some things are beyond your control. Some people cannot be changed, and some stories are meant to close. And that courage can bring you back to a rare state: freedom. Freedom from what has passed. Freedom from what others think. Freedom from your own outdated thoughts. You can begin this simply with a whispered, but powerful, sentence: "I release what no longer serves me." And if something within you is not ready to leave, then let it stay there. Like a guest who does not wish to leave the party. Just do not make room for it. Do not invite it in. Do not hold it back. Just leave an empty space in your heart, so light can enter. Very well. Now, please sit very still. Breathe in slowly. Breathe out long and gentle. You don't need to chase anything anymore. You don't need to force yourself to let go quickly. Nor do you need a reason. Just be present. The second meditation phrase, "I release what no longer serves me," is more than an affirmation. It is a gentle arm extended in the darkness, setting down a burden you may have carried for far too long. We all have something like that. Something once important, a passion once burning, a sacred memory. Then over time, it changes color, becomes silent, and grows heavy, like a stone deep in the chest. Not painful, just exhausting. Once upon a time, a young student loved poetry. In his early years of spiritual training, he carried a notebook in which he copied all the best poems he had ever read. Each evening, he reread them, feeling each line, each word, like warmth keeping his heart from freezing. One day, heavy rain fell. The meditation pavilion leaked. His notebook soaked up water. The poem's ink blurred. Precious verses turned into gray patches. He burst into tears and went to see his teacher, choking out, "I have lost everything. Everything precious I ever preserved. Everything that helped me hold onto myself." The teacher looked at him quietly. No scolding, no preaching. He simply handed him a blank sheet of paper. On it, just one sentence. "When the hands are empty, the heart can open." He read it, said nothing, sat in silence. Rain continued. The ink still spread, but the tears stopped. When you let go of something, you are not truly abandoning it. You are letting it return to where it belongs. Perhaps to the past, perhaps to a memory, perhaps to a chapter that has ended. Letting go is not indifference, nor is it escape. It is recognition that all things have a time to arrive and a time to leave. Holding on only slows the beat of the present. You may have thought, "If I let go, I will lose everything." But in truth, letting go reveals that what is real will remain. No need to cling, no need to force. It will come back, light as breath, natural as dawn after darkness. If something currently arises in your mind, a face, a phrase, a memory, a fear, look at it. Do not avoid, do not brace, just whisper, "I release what no longer serves me." Even if it is a mistake, even if it is someone once very close, even if it is yourself, a former version that served once, but no longer fits. There is a Zen story about a ceramic vase. An artisan created it with great care. Its shape graceful, its glaze even. One day, while dusting it, he accidentally dropped it. A long crack appeared. People said to discard it, but he kept it. He did not repair it. He did not hide it. Each day, he placed a flower branch inside it. Over time, the flowers made the cracked part of its beauty. One day he whispered, "Only when it cracked did I see the life I had poured into it." You are the same. Things that once caused you pain or closed your heart can, if you let go, become a window. No longer a wound, but a space where light can enter. Do not force yourself to let go of everything in a single night. Begin with something small. A bit of anger, a thought that no longer serves, an unrealistic expectation. Each time you let go, you do not become emptier. You only make your heart wider, allowing something new to enter. Like a room that needs clearing before it can welcome guests. Like winter passing for new shoots to emerge. Close your eyes. Imagine your heart as a calm, vast lake. On it, an autumn leaf floats. No one holds it, no one shoves it away. It just drifts, light, silent, as part of life. Let everything unnecessary float away like that. Without bitterness, without regret, without blame, without defense. Just let go, like the breath exhaled at the end of a long day. Like sleep arriving when thoughts no longer disturb. very gently. Let us keep breathing. Let the words flow like water seeping between the stones, without force, without resistance. The second meditation phrase, I release what no longer serves me, is no longer a gentle reminder, but a living state, a way of being we step into bit by bit, like opening the door to an old room filled with dust of time. You don't need to clean it all at once. Just be brave enough to bring light into it. A light gentle enough to see what you have not dared face for too long. In a small mountain temple, there was a young monk known for being strict. Every day he swept leaves in the courtyard, arranging everything with perfect lines. Anyone going awry, he corrected. Anyone speaking loudly, he looked at with disapproval. One day, a mischievous novice skipped scripture class and drew, with a bamboo stick, a rough outline of an elephant in the sand. The strict monk noticed, became angry, erased it with his foot, and said, "A meditation hall is not a place for childish play." The novice said nothing and quietly returned to his room. The next day, the monk swept the courtyard, but again saw the elephant drawing, this time by hand. Soft, round, gentle. He erased it again. The third day, the image reappeared. On the fourth day, still the elephant, but now with a small line beneath. I just want to bring a bit of joy to this place. The monk stood in silence. He put down his broom, quietly walked away, without erasing. That night, he sat alone for a long time under the Bodhi tree. From the next day, the courtyard remained clean, but sometimes small drawings appeared, a butterfly, a moon, a cloud. The monk no longer erased them. Inside, something had been put down. We often cling tightly to ideas of right and wrong. Principles and standards are built like fences to protect our sense of stability. But sometimes, those very things, when they no longer serve us, can trap us in rigidity, draining the soul of its natural flexibility. Letting go does not mean abandoning your ideals. It means recognizing the limits of things that were once helpful but have now become burdens. You may have held tightly to the belief that, I must be strong all the time. You may have thought, if I just push a little harder, everything will change. But if today, your body is weary and your heart is tired, maybe what you need is not more effort, but one act of release, without blame. No one is judging you for slowing down. No one is demanding perfection. Only you are placing that weight on your own shoulders. It is time to set it down. Gently, like taking off a wet shirt after the rain. No regret, no anger. Just the simple truth. Its role is complete. Sometimes letting go is nothing more than stopping the fight against what cannot be changed. Like watching a leaf fall. You cannot reattach it to the branch. You cannot ask why it dropped. You can only exhale, watch, accept, bow your head. During a meditation session in Japan, a woman shared that she could not let go of the pain surrounding her mother's death, who had passed when she was still very young. Every time she meditated, her mother's face would appear, always the same expression, gentle, sad, as if she had left something unsaid. The meditation teacher did not advise her to forget, nor did he tell her to let go. He simply invited her to write a letter to her mother. In the letter, she did not need to say anything new. Just a greeting. She did it. The first letter was full of tears. The second one included a few stories from daily life. By the fifth letter, she wrote, I no longer wish for you to come back. I only wish for you to know. I am learning how to keep going. That was the first night in many years that she slept soundly again. Sometimes letting go is simply having the courage to say a final goodbye. Maybe you too have a letter unwritten, a word unspoken, an ending left unfinished, but you do not need to close it perfectly. You just need to put down the period. A small one, like a whispered thought in the quiet night. I release what no longer serves me. From that moment, you are no longer the one carrying the load. You are the one who listens to your heart. The one brave enough to let something old fall away. No loud sound is needed. Just as light as a feather landing on the ground. The third meditation phrase. I embrace the stillness within me. In a world that never stops moving, where everything seems to call for our reaction, response, or resistance, something extraordinary happens the moment you pause. Not because you are tired, not because you are drained, but because you choose to stop with awareness. Like someone watching a lake after a strong wind. No longer trying to chase away the ripples. No longer waiting for the surface to go still, just watching. Simply being there, allowing stillness to soak in. The phrase, I embrace the stillness within me, is not a command. Not a goal. It is a return to the place deep in your mind where you know nothing is urgent. Nothing needs to be proven. Nothing needs to be controlled anymore. Only the breath remains. Only presence. Only you, with yourself. Zen master Bankei once said, "The original mind is still. All thoughts are passing clouds." That phrase is not reserved for the enlightened. It is for anyone who has ever felt life was too loud. So loud that you could no longer hear yourself. So loud that each evening became a crowded conversation in your mind with hundreds of voices. What to do? How to be? Was it wrong? Is it enough? But then, if you stay still long enough, you will discover, behind all that noise, there is still a space of quiet. That stillness does not live outside of you. It is the deepest, calmest part of you, never hurt, never panicked, never lost. It is there, always there, waiting for you to return. There was an old Zen master who lived in a wooden hut on top of a hill. Each day, he did only 3 things. Woke up early to make tea, meditated at his doorstep, and watched the clouds drift by. One day, a successful merchant came to visit, tired, restless, full of doubt. He said, "I have wealth and power, but I cannot sleep. My mind runs wild. I have come here for a method to find peace." The Zen master handed him a wind chime. Softly, without explanation, he said, "Hang this outside your bedroom. Each night, watch it in silence for 5 minutes." The merchant returned home, skeptical, but gave it a try. The first night, he was impatient. The second, annoyed. By the 5th night, as the chime gently swayed in the breeze, he realized, the chime does not make the sound, the wind does. The chime does not resist the wind, it lets it pass. For the first time in years, he felt himself breathe softly. His mind became like the chime, no more resistance, no more chaos, just quiet, just feeling. Stillness is not the absence of sound. It is the absence of resistance. When you stop trying to control the flow of life, when you stop trying to rebuild what has already broken, your mind becomes like water untouched. You do not need to meditate for hours. You do not need a perfectly quiet space. You only need to sit, even for just a minute, in full presence. Do not correct your breath. Do not define what you feel. Do not fight the noise outside. Just breathe. Just know you are here. How much time have you spent listening to others? Replying to messages? Meeting expectations? But how long has it been since you sat still enough to hear your own voice? Not your thoughts, but something deeper, the wordless sound within you. It does not tell you what to do. It simply invites you to sit, like a stream flowing through the heart of stone, unhurried, unbroken, just quietly moving. Once, someone asked Zen Master Linji, "I want to attain peace. Where should I begin?" He did not answer, just remained silent. The student waited. Minutes passed. Nothing. Finally, the master looked him in the eyes and said just one thing. "When your mind does not need a place to begin, that is peace." That answer struck like a bell in the student's heart. From that day on, whenever he felt restless, he stopped asking, "How can I find peace?" He simply sat, not for a reason, not to gain anything, just sat, like the moon quietly reflecting on the lake. Today, maybe you have listened too much, read too much, thought too much. Let it all flow away like ink spreading across an old piece of paper. No need to hold on. No need to erase. Just return to your breath, to your heartbeat, to the silent space within you that needs no explanation. You do not need to become someone else. You do not need to go anywhere. Every place you have ever searched for peace is actually right here in this moment, where all you need to do is breathe. Honestly, I embrace the stillness within me. Saying those words is not a way to summon stillness, but a reminder that it never left. You just forgot, but now, you remember. Each time you step into that inner stillness, even for a few seconds, you create a shelter for yourself in the never-ending storm of life. Not everyone dares to sit still. Not everyone has the courage to listen to their own heart in silence. Because silence can bring you face to face with what was long forgotten. With questions unanswered. With blurry fragments of memory still quietly living deep inside. But it is in that space, where logic steps aside, where presence replaces analysis, that you get a true chance to touch something sacred. A part of yourself that has never been hurt, never shattered, never judged. A part that remains whole, as it was at the moment of your birth, pure, nameless, formless, but complete. Once, a widowed woman came to a Zen temple in Kyoto. Her eyes were swollen, her body frail. She said her husband had died suddenly in an accident, leaving no chance for goodbye. Even years later, she could not find peace. Every night, in the silence of her room, she felt a weight pressing on her chest. She had tried everything: temple rituals, chanting, vegetarianism, charity, but nothing soothed the pain inside. An old Zen master listened, said nothing, and handed her a blank sheet of paper and a pen. Each night, he told her, "Sit alone in silence and write whatever comes into your heart. It does not need to be beautiful. It does not need to be right. It just needs to be real." She did as he said. The first night, her paper was soaked in tears. On the third night, she wrote words of blame. On the fifth night, she wrote just 3 words: "I miss you." By the 10th night, she wrote nothing. She just sat, and in that stillness, the pain no longer tore at her, but softened into a faint glow surrounding the memory. When she returned to see the master, she bowed deeply and said, "I have stopped trying to move past it. Now I just watch it quietly. And that is enough." Stillness does not heal in a loud way. It makes no promises. It holds no conditions. It simply does its work in silence. like night dew on a dry field, like morning light touching someone's eyelid as they wake. When you embrace the stillness within you, you do not need to demand peace to arrive instantly. You just need to open your heart, sit down, breathe slowly, and allow yourself to be without needing to speak, without needing to think, without needing to understand. You are simply here, whole, honest, quiet. Your mind may continue to whisper familiar phrases. I should have. If only I had. Why did it happen this way? But if you do not respond to those words, if you do not react, if you simply let them pass like drifting clouds, something miraculous happens. The less you chase after thoughts, the more they fade. Stillness does not come from stopping thoughts, it comes from no longer being tangled in them. You become the witness. No judgment, no interference, no fear. One meditation student once shared that whenever he felt anxious, he imagined his mind as a wide meditation hall. Every thought entered like a passing guest. Some guests were noisy, some carried the scent of the past, but he chased no one away, and he asked no one to stay. He greeted them all with silence. Eventually, those guests would leave on their own. The hall would feel spacious again. Light, clear, he said, I do not need to close the doors of my mind. I just need to learn how to sit still within myself. The meditation phrase, I embrace the stillness within me, is not meant to make you force yourself into silence. It is to remind you, the quietest place is not in some high mountain or deep forest, but right in the center of your chest, where you place your hand and feel your heartbeat. And whisper, I am still here. I am still me. Everything else can pass. Nothing outside can take away your inner stillness, unless you give it away. No circumstance is strong enough to shake your peace, unless you agree to be swept up in it. When you return to that wordless space inside, where the breath is your only rhythm, where every moment is sacred, you no longer have to beg for peace, because you have already become it. No one is born knowing how to be still. Everyone learns it only after passing through enough noise, enough shattering, enough confusion. Everyone must cross the land of chaos, where the mind screams, where memory knocks, where anxiety whispers of things not yet come, before realizing stillness is not found outside, but is a quiet candle burning within. That candle does not glow with firelight, but with presence. It does not burn with oxygen, but with breath, gentle as silk, pure as mist. The phrase, I embrace the stillness within me, is not a habit. It is the outcome of stopping the search, of no longer needing to fix everything, of no longer trying to explain to the world that you are okay. In a small village near the Laos-Thailand border, there lived a farmer named Sun T, who led a quiet life. He lost his wife at 40 and lived with his son in a simple wooden house. Each day, he worked the fields, and each evening, he drank tea on the porch. Villagers said he was strange, never went to temple, never joined festivals, never showed much joy or complaint. One time, his son had an accident and was bedridden for a year. Visitors would say, "This is so unfair. How can you bear it?" Sun T would simply smile, pour tea, and say nothing. A year later, his son recovered miraculously and could walk again. The villagers said, "How lucky. You must be so happy." Again, Sun T smiled, poured tea, and said nothing. One day, a visitor from far away heard the story and asked Sun T, "Why do you never show anything? No anger when bad things happen. No excitement when good things come? Sun Ti looked up, his eyes clear like water after rain, and replied slowly, I have learned to listen to life like listening to the wind in the fields. I do not hold. I do not push. I just listen. Stillness does not make you numb. It lets you feel everything more deeply, without being overwhelmed. Like a lake that can reflect the entire sky without letting it sink in. When you embrace the stillness within, you are not rejecting your emotions. You are simply choosing not to become their victim. You let sadness pass like a cloud. You let worry drift down like a yellow leaf. You do not sever the stream of feelings. But you do not tie yourself to be dragged by them. Zen master Suzuki Roshi once said, silence does not come from trying to be silent. Silence comes when you stop trying. That statement, seemingly paradoxical, holds the essence of meditation. Every time you sit down and your mind begins to wander, instead of hating those thoughts, you look at them as a part of yourself. Do not chase them away. Do not cling to them. Watch them as you would a mischievous child. You know they are not yet mature, not yet understanding, and eventually, they will quiet down. The mind is the same. The more you force it to be still, the more it struggles. Only when you accept the noise can you move beyond it. Once, I asked a Zen master, how can I find silence in the midst of a noisy city? He pointed up at the night sky and said, can you hear the sound of the moonlight? I was confused. He smiled. That is your answer. Since then, I have stopped trying to find peace by escaping the crowds. I look for peace in the way I see things. In the way I place my hand on my chest. In the way I exhale without words. If the sounds in your head are too loud right now, do not try to shut them off. Just sit still. Let each thought echo like waves brushing against the shore, arriving, then retreating. Stay firmly seated within yourself like someone sitting in the center of a storm, not waiting for the storm to pass. Just watching. The phrase, I embrace the stillness within me, does not invite you to flee from life. It invites you to remain present within it, with everything exactly as it is, while still holding a quiet center, like a solid core at the heart of the storm. That stillness is the home you forgot the key to. But now, you are standing at the door. No need to knock, no need to rush in. Just breathe, just remember. You never truly lost it. You only stayed away too long. Now, come back. When we truly enter a state of stillness, the world around us keeps moving as before. But something within us has shifted. We no longer feel pulled along. We no longer need to chase or resist anything. Like when the sea grows calm, and the sky above is suddenly clearer in the reflection. Stillness does not remove life, it lets us see it more deeply, more purely, more completely. In that moment, there is no need to succeed, nothing to prove, no past to regret, no future to worry about. Only the present, alive, full, whole, a present that needs no decoration by goals, is not bound by names or roles, and has no obligation to become anything other than what it is. A present in which you are allowed to simply be you, not tensed, not performing, not explaining. Long ago, in the deep mountains of China, there was a young novice monk who was always scolded for being clumsy, forgetful, and awkward. In the temple, everyone called him Little Wind, because wherever he went, he made noise. The young monk was heartbroken. He tried every day to walk softly, speak quietly, remember instructions, but always ended up making mistakes. One day, in deep frustration, he left for the mountains, intending to give up the path of practice. On his way, he met an old blind man sitting quietly by a stream. The old man said nothing, asked nothing, he just sat. The monk was about to walk past but stopped and sat beside him. All afternoon, they said nothing. They listened to the stream flowing, leaves falling, wind brushing through dead branches. As the sun set, the old man turned to the monk, placed his hand over his heart, and asked softly, "What do you hear?" The monk listened. "I hear the stream, the leaves, your heartbeat." The old man nodded. "And what about your own heart?" The monk paused a long time, then said, "It is quiet now." The old man smiled. "Then you do not need to go anywhere." Stillness does not come from being perfect. It comes from letting go of the effort to fit yourself into expectations that do not belong to you. It comes when you accept your awkwardness as part of your existence, not a flaw, but a unique way of being. Stillness does not require you to earn it. It only asks you to show up. When you stop arguing with yourself, you finally begin to hear the call of peace. This peace is not loud like victory, not dazzling like success, not burning like love, but it has a strange power. It softens everything, lightens your heart, calms your thoughts, melts the ice of doubt. It asks for no recognition, no companionship, only your courage to stop. To stop truly, not in time, but in awareness. To stop running, to return to the deepest part of you, the place where you were once a child unafraid, needing nothing but to exist. The phrase, "I embrace the stillness within me," is not meant to detach you from life. It is the bridge that lets you walk through life without losing yourself. Like a musician moving through sound by resting between two notes. Like a mother moving through her child's cries with a gentle, wordless gaze. Like a pilgrim walking through endless miles with a steady step and no expectations. Only when you know how to live with stillness can you truly listen to others. Not to respond, not to argue, but to understand, to connect, to let the other person know they are not alone in the world's noise. A quiet heart is the greatest gift you can offer. Not through action, not through words, but through your full, steady, present being. Tonight, as the voices fade, as the lights dim, as the rhythm of life slips into the background, close your eyes. Do not try to reach any special state. Just sit, just breathe, just whisper a single sentence. I embrace the stillness within me. If a thought comes, let it go. If a feeling rises, let it pass. Do not cling, do not push, do not change. Just be there, with yourself, like an old friend who needs no conversation, only to sit beside you in quiet companionship. The stillness within you does not depend on external conditions. It is not based on the quietness of your surroundings, the number of sounds, or the amount of free time you have. It is like a deep well, no matter how the ground above may shake. No matter how the weather changes, the water below keeps flowing, cool and pure. When you learn to live with stillness, small troubles no longer shake you. You no longer panic in the face of the uncontrollable. Instead of reacting, you observe. Instead of being swept up, you stay still. Instead of resisting, you exhale and open your heart. You let everything pass through without leaving a scar on your mind. Near a village known for growing flowers, there was a Zen monastery. Every spring, it would fill with tourists, crowds taking pictures, talking, laughing, loud and cheerful. The monastery seemed to lose its usual tranquility. Some young monks became upset, and one even wrote a letter asking the abbot to close the gates during tourist season. The abbot did not reply. Instead, he invited the monks to meditate beneath an old plum tree at the peak of visitor hours. The sound of footsteps, children playing, street vendors shouting echoed everywhere. One young monk, frustrated, stood up mid-meditation and said loudly, "Master, I cannot concentrate with all this noise." The abbot pointed to the falling plum blossoms and said softly, "Do you see? They are still falling, despite the noise." Meditation is not to escape life. It is so that among all the sounds, your heart still hears its own beat. No one is born knowing how to keep their inner world quiet. We have all been in a rush, all reacted, all gotten angry at ourselves, all been swept away by the noise of life without even realizing it. But if at any moment during your day, you simply stop, just to sit down, just to be still, for no reason at all, that is the moment you begin laying the first bricks of your inner home. A home that is not shaken by public opinion, not swayed by praise or criticism, not dimmed even when storms rage outside. There was once a meditation student who, after many years of training, was finally allowed to descend the mountain to share the teachings. But upon arriving in a bustling town, he quickly felt overwhelmed. People were always in a hurry. Every street was noisy, and everyone seemed endlessly busy. He lost sleep, lost his appetite, and felt like a stray blade of grass in the middle of a desert. He rode back to the mountain and asked his teacher, "How can I preserve my stillness in a place like this?" His master sent back only one short reply: "You do not need to keep your stillness. You only need not lose yourself." That night, the student meditated on a rooftop beneath the city lights, not hoping for the noise to disappear, just allowing everything to be, just allowing himself to be. When you know how to embrace the stillness within, you begin carrying it like a small flame resting at the center of your chest. It does not shine for others. It does not show off. But it is enough to keep you warm. Wherever you are, whatever you are doing, whoever you are speaking with, that flame remains. Quiet, steady, gentle. Others may not notice, but you know it is there. It helps you speak less, react slower, love deeper, look at others with softer eyes, hear hurtful words without needing to strike back, hear blame without rushing to defend yourself. Because you no longer need to win. You no longer need to be right. You only need to protect that still space inside, where your heart no longer rises and falls every time the world stirs up a storm. When you lie down to sleep, you do not need to pray for anything grand. Just place your hand on your chest and feel your heartbeat. Just whisper in the silence, "I embrace the stillness within me." That phrase does not push noise away. It opens a door for you to step into a place where no one else can reach. A place where all your worries shrink. Where expectations dissolve like morning mist. Where sorrow becomes gentle. You do not need to force yourself into stillness. You just need to return to where you were always still. Meditation phrase 4. I forgive myself. The moment you say this, a part of you may not fully believe it. Somewhere deep inside, a small voice might whisper, "But I should not have done that." The phrase, "I forgive myself," is not magic that makes every mistake vanish. It is a doorway to acceptance, where you are no longer the harsh judge of your own heart. Forgiveness cannot change the past, but it frees you from the lifelong burden of self-punishment. You cannot redo what has already happened, but you can stop punishing yourself every time you remember it. You can choose to be gentler, to slow down, to listen to yourself with ears no longer filled with judgment. In a small riverside village, there was a middle-aged man named Jiro, once a famed swordsman in his youth. He lived in seclusion, no wife, no children, no friends. Each day, he chopped wood, cooked, and sat alone under his porch. Villagers whispered that at age 27, Jiro had accidentally taken a life during a duel, a young boy, new to training, who could not dodge in time. Though he was legally cleared, Jiro abandoned his sword, left the city, and lived in quiet exile ever since. One day, a Zen master passed through and asked to stay the night. During dinner, seeing the heaviness in Jiro's eyes, the master said, "You look like someone carrying an invisible sack of stones. How long do you plan to carry it?" Jiro gave a sad smile. "I have no right to put it down. I killed someone." The master said nothing. The next morning, before leaving, he placed a note on the table. It simply said 2 words, "It's enough." Jiro read it over and over all day. That night, for the first time in years, he held his old sword, not to wield it, but to wipe off the dust. Then he placed it, upright, into the earth outside his home. Later, villagers saw Jiro begin speaking with children, buying flowers at the market, planting vegetables, and even smiling. No one knew exactly what had changed, but perhaps he had finally believed in those 2 words, "It's enough." You may have said things that hurt others. You may have done something that betrayed your conscience. You may have made the wrong choice, missed a chance, lost someone you loved, but you do not need to carry all those mistakes for the rest of your life as if under a lifelong sentence. Forgiving yourself does not mean denying the consequences. It means looking at those consequences with courage, and deciding they will not define you forever. You are no longer the person you were in that moment. You have changed. You are changing. You deserve to move forward with a lighter heart, not crushed by the harsh words you speak to yourself. A student once asked a Zen master, "I feel deep regret for not being with my mother more before she passed. How can I get over that?" The master handed him a dried twig and said, "Keep this with you for a week. Every time you miss your mother, look at the twig." A week later, the student returned. The twig had snapped in half when he accidentally dropped it. Crying, he said, "Master, I failed to keep it safe, just like I failed to be there for my mother." The master smiled. "You can carry the 2 broken pieces with you, or you can take the seeds from this tree and plant them in the soil." And that was the moment he understood. Forgiving yourself is not about forgetting the one you did not fully love in time. It is about choosing to live in a way that turns what was unfinished into a blooming flower. No one comes into this world without making mistakes. No one lives a full life without leaving a mark on someone else's heart or on their own. But you do not need to be perfect to be forgiven. You only need to be honest, willing to face it, willing to love yourself again, even if that part of you once made foolish choices. There is no deeper act of love than sitting beside the version of yourself that was once weak, confused, or wrong, and saying, "I understand. I will not run anymore. I forgive you." That is the first step of healing, not from others, but from within yourself. Tonight, before you sleep, place your hand over your heart, not to control your heartbeat, but to feel the life that is still here. You are still alive. You are still capable of love. You can still begin again. You are not the wound. You are the one who has walked through it. Whisper slowly, like a breath. I forgive myself. No need for reasons. No need for certainty. Only the belief that you deserve to be gentle with yourself, beginning tonight. When someone truly learns to forgive themselves, what changes is not just their mood, it is the way they walk through life. Their gaze becomes softer, their voice gentler, their breath deeper, because the weight of self-blame has quietly fallen away, without needing anyone to witness it. Forgiving yourself is an act of immense courage. It comes with no fanfare, no applause, no recognition. It is just you, face to face with yourself, the one who made mistakes, who hurt others, who once refused to love yourself, and gently saying, "It is enough." Forgiveness does not require a ceremony or the perfect moment. It begins with an honest look and the decision to no longer stay silent in the face of your own suffering. At an ancient monastery on Mount Koya, there was a nun named Anzu, known for her strict discipline. In 10 years of monastic life, she had never once broken a rule. But one day, she was found sleeping during a meditation chant. No one scolded her. No one criticized her, but she judged herself more harshly than any punishment could. For a week, she ate less, stayed up late, and scrubbed the kitchen alone as a form of penance. One morning, the old abbot walked into the kitchen and saw her scrubbing the stone floor until her hands were bleeding. He sat down, poured her a cup of hot tea, and said, "You think you are making up for your mistake, but you are rebuilding the very wall you worked so hard to take down." Anzu broke down in tears. For the first time in years, she sat down and did nothing. She just drank tea. She just let herself be forgiven. Not by trying harder, but by finally stopping. Forgiveness begins the moment you stop demanding perfection from yourself before you feel worthy of love. It begins when you stop using your past as proof that you do not deserve the kindness of the present. We have all been incomplete versions of ourselves. We have all failed to love properly, to speak kindly, to hold on to what matters. But the person you are today, the one who listens, who wants to heal, is not the same. The one who knows how to sit in stillness, who can exhale with awareness, who can bow before their pain without running away, that person deserves compassion. In a small fishing village on the southern coast, there was a young woman named Nami who had run away from home at 17 after a fight with her mother. 10 years later, she returned, carrying a decade's worth of wounds. Her mother was old now, and her memory had begun to fade. Nami cared for her every day but could never bring herself to apologize. Every night, she wrote letters and burned them, unable to deliver a single one. One evening, when her mother grew very weak, she sat beside her and cried, "I am sorry. I was not good. I made you suffer." Her mother reached out with trembling hands, touched her daughter's cheek, and whispered, barely audible, "I forgive you. But do you forgive yourself?" That question rang like a great bell inside Nami. No one can live fully if their heart is still bound by the words, "if only." Forgiving yourself does not mean forgetting what you have done. It means softening the burden when you remember. It means not getting caught in regret. Not withdrawing from life because you no longer believe you deserve happiness. You cannot start life over from the beginning, but you can start from this moment, with a heart no longer ruled by old wounds. Every time you criticize yourself. Every time harsh words echo in your mind. Pause. Place your hand over your chest and ask, what do I need right now, punishment or understanding? Forgiveness is not a straight path. Some days you will feel you have moved on. And then suddenly, regret returns. That is okay. Forgiveness is not a destination. It is a way of living. It is how you learn to look at yourself with eyes full of compassion. Asking for nothing in return. The phrase, I forgive myself, is a reminder. As gentle as wind brushing your forehead in the night. As soft as a raindrop landing on the shoulder of someone quietly weeping. No one else needs to hear this phrase. Only your heart. Only that tender part inside you that once trembled. Once strayed. Once longed to be held without being judged. When you whisper it, you are doing what no one else has ever done for you. You reach out your hand and catch yourself, in gentleness. In understanding. In unconditional love. Forgiving yourself does not mean declaring, I am no longer at fault. It means admitting, I made a mistake, but I am not that mistake. It is an awakening not born from logic, but from a crack in your soul where the light finds its way in. No one can tell you when you have forgiven enough. There is no measurement for this journey. But there are quiet signs. You stop replaying old memories when you see something familiar. You no longer flinch when someone mentions what you once did. You learn how to sit with yourself through long nights, not to punish yourself, but to hold the parts of you once abandoned. Every one of us has been a victim of our own immaturity, our own confusion, our own lack of wisdom. But if your heart still aches, it means you are still capable of love. If your soul still feels heavy, it means you still want to do what is right. That is not evidence of failure, but proof of your humanity. Once, there was an old Zen master who lived on the edge of a snow-covered region. He had once been a soldier in wartime, once held a sword, once stood between life and death with no time to weigh right or wrong. After the war, he sought spiritual liberation but could never find deep peace in meditation. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the face of a child wounded by his blade during battle. Though he became a monk and lived in purity, he still could not rest. One winter, he exiled himself to the highest cave in the mountains, speaking to no one, surviving on melted snow and wild greens. Every night, he carved a single sentence into the stone wall: I am not worthy. One day, the snow melted early. A group of tourists stumbled upon the cave. They saw a thin man with long, white hair sitting near a small fire. A little girl from the group asked, "Who are you to live here all alone?" He said nothing. The girl walked up, handed him a lollipop, and said, "I do not know what you did, but anyone who lives alone like this must be a good person." Her innocent words made him weep. He wrote a final sentence on the wall: "I begin again." And after 15 years, he walked out of the cave. Forgiving yourself does not require anyone else to accept you. It does not need to be witnessed. It is an inner journey, where you face the past that once made you lower your head. But this time, you bow not to avoid it, but to embrace yourself. You stop playing the victim in your own story. You stop repeating the script of guilt, as if that were the only way to repay your mistakes. You do not need to keep punishing yourself, because no one is healed by self-hatred. Only love can carry us through the darkness. A woman once shared that after having an abortion at 20, she lived in silence for 10 years, full of self-loathing. Every time she heard children's laughter, She looked away. Every time she saw a mother holding her baby, she blamed herself. She avoided love, avoided dreaming of a family, believing she was undeserving. One day, in a group meditation session, participants were asked to whisper a healing phrase. She could not speak. Tears poured down her face. The instructor sat beside her in silence, held her hand, and gently repeated 3 times, "You are allowed to keep living." She does not remember exactly what happened after that, but that night, for the first time in 10 years, she wrote a letter to herself. Not to judge, but to listen. Not to explain, but to forgive. The first sentence she wrote was, "You have suffered enough. You too. No matter what you have been through. No matter how many years have passed since that mistake. You still have the right to begin again, with compassion. You still have the right to be loved. You do not need to wait until you are perfect." Forgiveness is the way you give yourself a chance to live a life that is no longer imprisoned by the past. It is how you tell the vulnerable part of you that it no longer has to hide. It can step into the sunlight and sit beside the strong part of you, the part that has been carrying the weight of survival all these years. Tonight, before you close your eyes, speak gently. "I forgive myself." No reason needed. No need to feel worthy. Just let it pass through your weary soul like a soft breeze. Then let everything settle, like a flower folding in after a long day. You may not feel anything special right away, but somewhere deep inside, a seed of healing has been planted. And one morning, you might find yourself smiling for no particular reason, just because you have stopped hating yourself. Forgiving yourself is a quiet act with great power. Like an underground stream seeping through the cracks of your heart. It reaches places your mind cannot touch. Those shadowy corners where emotions have been forgotten, judged, or locked away in the closed rooms of memory. It is often easier to forgive others than to forgive yourself. We can offer grace to others with logic and empathy, but we struggle to accept the pain we have caused when we are the ones who caused it. In the moment you whisper, "I forgive myself," you are not declaring your innocence. You are choosing to stop punishing yourself. You are choosing to take off the chains of regret and to stop letting the past dictate every step of the present. You want to live fully, with both your darkness and your light. Along the coast of Japan, there is an ancient temple dedicated to the 1,000-armed cannon. Each year, hundreds of pilgrims come to pray. But few know that the temple keeper, an old, stooped man named Daiki, was once a gambler who lived recklessly in Osaka, losing everything and dragging his family down with him. One drunken night, he crashed his car, killing his wife and leaving his daughter permanently injured. Unable to bear the truth, he disappeared. 15 years later, he reappeared as the temple's quiet caretaker, cleaning statues, sweeping the grounds, and serving tea to strangers. A young meditation student visiting the temple asked him, "Why don't you return and ask your daughter's forgiveness? Why haven't you tried to make things right?" Daiki stared into the flame of a candle in front of the Buddha statue and said slowly, "Forgiveness does not come from begging. It comes when the heart is strong enough to stop running. I cannot undo the past, but I can live every day left to me as an apology in action." The student bowed, not because Daiki was the keeper of the temple, but because he was someone who had dared to face himself. There are mistakes that cannot be fixed, words that cannot be taken back, relationships that cannot be repaired. But there is no heart that cannot begin to heal, if its owner is willing to return. Not to justify, but to listen. Not to erase, but to embrace. Not to start over, but to move forward with more compassion. Forgiving yourself is putting a period on a sentence that has gone on too long, so you can begin writing a new chapter in the gentler ink of mercy. It means no longer seeing yourself as a criminal, but as a human being learning how to walk again with sincerity, no longer hiding anything. There was once a young mother who had hidden the fact that she once abandoned her newborn during postpartum depression. Though she was later rescued, and the baby survived and grew healthy, she could never forgive herself. She avoided her child, avoided her husband, could not bear to look in the mirror. One day, during a group meditation, participants were asked to write a note to the child within. Everyone folded their messages and placed them in a mindfulness box. That day, she wrote, "I am sorry I once wanted to leave you. But I was a lost child too. Will you hold me just once?" From that day forward, she began telling her child bedtime stories, not fairy tales, but the story of her own journey. The more she spoke, the lighter she became. The more she listened to her child, the more she heard herself. And every night, as her child hugged her to sleep, she would whisper, too soft for anyone to hear, "I forgive myself." Sometimes, the only person you need to apologize to is yourself. To the child in you that was forced to grow up too fast. To the youth you denied out of fear of judgment. To the heart you silenced every time it spoke out of vulnerability. You do not need permission to forgive. No certificate is required. You only need the courage to admit that you, too, are human. You, too, have made mistakes. You, too, are still learning. And you, too, deserve love. Tonight, as you place your hand over your chest, close your eyes, and speak to yourself like a dear friend, "I forgive myself." Then be still. Do not rush the feeling. Do not force tears. Just sit with the sentence. Like sitting with a friend returning after years apart, quiet, gentle, needing no explanation. Perhaps one of the hardest things in life is to look directly at the part of ourselves we least want to see, the place holding all our mistakes, regrets, and what-ifs. Many people spend their lives avoiding it. They stay busy so they never have to face it. They run from it through work, relationships, even success or isolation, as if the silence inside were a bottomless pit. But stillness does not harm you. It only removes the places where you can hide. Forgiving yourself is the first step in returning to that space, not to judge, but to make peace. Not to excuse, but to embrace. Not to erase, but to understand and finally let go of the burden you have carried for too long. At a mountain monastery in Tibet, there was a young novice who often stole bread from the kitchen because he was hungry. Every time he was caught, he was punished, made to copy scriptures or sweep the courtyard all day. One time, he accidentally spilled the pot of porridge prepared for the whole monastery. No one scolded him, but the silence from the other monks made him feel like a stain in that sacred space. He ran behind the garden, sat under the great cypress, and cried. The old abbot walked by, said nothing, and simply placed a small stone in the boy's hand. "This is your stone of guilt," he said. "You can carry it forever to remind yourself of your mistake, or you can set it down and choose to live better starting today." The boy stared at the stone for a long time, then placed it at the base of the tree. Years later, He became the monastery's most dedicated cook, remembering every monk's preferences. Always the last to leave the kitchen, cleaning every surface with care. Once, someone asked, "Why do you work alone?" He smiled and replied, "Because I know that to forgive myself, I must live each day as someone new. No one can turn back time, but anyone can walk toward the future with a heart freed from the shackles of the past." Forgiving yourself does not make you innocent, but it does mean you are no longer a prisoner of your mistakes. You will feel yourself soften. You will see a lighter face when you look in the mirror. You will feel no stirring in your heart when someone mentions an old story. Not because you forgot, but because you are no longer stuck there. You walk forward without dragging the invisible chains you used to carry behind you. You do not deny the part of you that stumbled. Instead, you place a hand on its shoulder and say gently, "We have walked together long enough. From here, I will walk with a wider heart." There was a man who had lived with guilt for years, for leaving his younger brother behind when they were kids. They grew up in a violent home. The older brother escaped first, leaving the younger to endure 3 more years of fear and loneliness. Though they were later reunited, and the younger brother had forgiven him, the older brother still could not forgive himself. He could not say, "I love you," could not embrace him, could not raise his head during conversations. One day, during the younger brother's 30th birthday party, he called his brother to stand beside him and said in front of everyone, "Back then, you left. I was angry. I was hurt. But because of that, I learned to be strong. Today, I just want to hug you and say, you no longer need to carry that guilt." The older brother broke down in tears in the middle of the crowded room. It was the first time he felt light, not because he was forgiven, but because he finally allowed himself to receive it. Maybe you too are carrying something inside you that you have never told anyone. Maybe it was a wrong decision, a painful word, a choice that cost you something dear. But if you can still feel the ache, if your heart still feels heavy, it means that part of you is still reaching toward the light. What you need now is not another round of blame, but a soft sigh and the words, "I have walked through that. And now I am here. I am still alive." Let each breath be a chance to become someone new, someone who feels pain but is no longer ruled by it. Someone who made mistakes but has not lost faith in themselves. Tonight, sit quietly. You do not need candles or bells, just your honest presence. Place your hand over your chest, not to check your heartbeat, but to feel that your heart is still beating, still holding space for love and a fresh beginning. Then speak slowly, gently, as if comforting a child within you. "I forgive myself." This is not a declaration, it is a quiet prayer. A doorway to a new path, a path with no denial. No punishment, only understanding, acceptance, and tenderness. Meditation phrase 5. I am complete. In this very moment. It is not when we have everything that we feel whole. It is when we are no longer haunted by what is missing that we begin to truly live in fullness. The present moment never lacks anything for peace. Lack only exists when our minds run to the past in longing or stretch toward the future in craving. But right now, in this breath, in the feeling of your palms resting together, in the full presence of your listening mind, that is where completeness begins to bloom. You do not need anything more. You do not need to wait until every problem is solved, every dream fulfilled, every mistake erased. Fullness does not depend on the state of the outside world. It lies in your ability to be fully with yourself. In a small village on the plains of India lived an old blind man named Ravi. He stayed in a straw hut, owning nothing but an old sitar. Villagers brought him food out of kindness, but no one truly understood why he always smiled, as if sorrow had no place in him. One day, a young traveler wandered into the village and asked to stay the night. Directed to Ravi's hut, the boy was puzzled to find a blind man, living alone with nothing, singing songs of joy while playing his instrument. Unable to hold back, he asked, "Do you not feel like you are missing anything? Are you not sad living this way?" The old man pointed to his heart and said softly, "You just do not see it. I have sound. I have breath. I have a sky in my imagination that no one can take away. You live in the whole world and do not know what you have. I close my eyes and see everything. Every note I play is a joy that needs no audience." That night, the boy could not sleep. For the first time in his life, he did not think about what he had not achieved. He just lay still, listening to the music in the dark, and felt his heart fill, for no clear reason at all. Wholeness is not a destination. It is a way of seeing with every step you take. It is the ability to look at a flower without needing to pluck it, to touch a moment without needing to hold it, to love someone without needing to possess them. You do not need to do anything grand to feel worthy of completeness. You only need to stop. Look deeply into this very moment. See that you lack nothing to take a full breath, to smile, to speak words of gratitude. A young woman once worked in finance, living in a big city, racing every day to meet deadlines, earn praise, keep her boss happy, and meet her family's expectations. She had achieved every goal, her title, her home, a high salary, but still felt empty. One day, she stumbled across a line in a meditation book, "When your hands hold nothing, you can hold everything." She cried. She had become too full of expectations, comparisons, endless ambitions, but she was empty of small things: a slow meal, an afternoon without her phone, a hug without reason. From that day on, every morning, she whispered to herself, "I am complete." In this very moment, that phrase did not change the world around her, but it changed how she existed in it. We cannot control everything that happens around us, but we can choose how we meet the present, not with longing for what is missing, but with gratitude for what is here. A full breath is a miracle. A footstep touching the earth is a return. A sip of tea in mindfulness is a doorway to wholeness. You do not need to prove your worth through achievements. You do not need to decorate your life to hide emptiness. You just need to relearn the art of simple living, where small things are seen through a wide, open heart. Tonight, as the outside world grows quiet, as your thoughts begin to grow tired, sit still for a while. Close your eyes. Place your hand on your heart. Feel the steady beat, needing no help from you. Feel the warmth of your palm. Feel the space around you, still, unhurried, enough. Nothing more is needed. This very moment, without a single condition, is enough to feel whole. Then speak slowly, as if offering a sacred chant to your inner world. "I am complete." In this very moment, you do not need to believe it fully yet. Just let the words sink in, like morning dew sinking into the earth. And later, when life wears you down, you will remember, you once had a moment of wholeness, peace, and completeness, simply by returning home to yourself. Not a few people among us spend our whole lives chasing something out of reach, a perfect state, an ideal love, complete recognition, only to forget that the deepest thing a human being can experience is not in the destination, but in the ability to cherish what is already present. In the Zen tradition, there is no concept of later will be enough. There is only a single reality breathing with us, inviting us to stop, to listen, to look deeply into each detail that seems ordinary. The soft light falling through the window frame, the breeze gently stirring the curtain, the feeling of skin touching the ground, all silent evidence of a fullness that has always been there, waiting only for us to pause long enough to see it. In Kyoto, there is a small temple named Daiko-in, hidden behind a winding slope, visited by few. Inside the temple there is a simple rock garden. No flowers, no ornamental plants, only white gravel spread evenly. A few large stones placed in spots that seem random. An elderly monk named Ryoan lives there. Day after day he does only 3 things. He sweeps the rock garden, makes tea, and meditates. A Western traveler came to visit. After meditating one morning, feeling restless, he asked, "Sir, don't you find a life like this too monotonous? Nothing new, nothing evolving?" Monk Ryoan smiled, placed a cup of tea in the guest's hand, then pointed out the window. "Do you see? Today the wind blows from a different direction. A leaf falls in a new spot. The bird calls earlier were not the same as yesterday's. My whole life I live with things changing each moment. Each time I notice life happening, I cannot feel wanting anymore." The guest said nothing further. He stayed for 3 more days in silence. And before leaving he wrote in the guest book, "I no longer have to run." In truth, life owes us nothing more to call complete. Only when we stop comparing, stop demanding, stop placing conditions on happiness, can we touch an independence of abundance. A person who no longer needs the past to justify themselves, who no longer needs the future to hope in, that person has reached the root of Zen. Because in each moment of completeness, there is no ground for anxiety to take root, no place for fear to dwell, no reason to overlook the present. Beauty lies in each breath perceived, each slow movement, each grateful glance. A person living like that, even owning little, is still the richest person in the world. In a poor suburban community in Mumbai, there lived an elderly grandmother named Meera with her 3 orphaned grandchildren. Their tiny room could only accommodate a mat and a small oil stove. Despite their lack, she kept the habit of waking early, cleaning the windows, lighting the stove to make tea, and inviting the children to meditate for 3 minutes before breakfast. A reporter came to do a feature story and asked her, "Don't you feel a lack? Your home, your amenities, your clothes, everything is lacking." Grandma Meera looked at her little grandchild sucking their finger and replied, "I used to think like you. But one day, when the children had high fevers and I had nothing else to offer but a hug, I saw clearly. What I still had, love, presence, trust, is more than enough. Since then, I stopped living like someone lacking. I live like someone who knows enough." The article ran that day accompanied by a photo, the grandmother with her patched shirt, smiling, her eyes clearer than even those of someone who has just received a major award. No action is too small to become a practice of fullness. When you eat and know you are eating, when you walk and know you are stepping, when you feel pain and do not run away, when you breathe and do not rush to fix anything, you are living in complete wholeness. You do not need to fix yourself to deserve the present moment. Instead, you need to let go of layers of false expectation. To see, you have always been enough to live, to feel, to be loved, to be at ease. Tonight, before you sleep, you do not need to wish for a completely different tomorrow. You do not need to wait for a miracle. Just place your hand over your heart. Gently breathe a long breath. And silently say, I am already full. Right in this moment, you do not need to be sure that is true. Just let that phrase touch your heart like a seed. And let it rest there. Perhaps tomorrow the mood will be the same. The world will not have changed. But one very small thing has shifted. You begin to stop demanding that this moment be different. You begin to be present. You begin to live. Abundance does not come from what we accumulate, but from our ability to fully perceive what is already here. A heart that knows how to stop, knows how to breathe deeply, knows how to listen to the rain falling or leaves brushing in the breeze, is a heart no longer lost amid countless conditions for happiness. Many people believe that happiness will come after achieving something, a better job, a larger house, a healthier body, a more stable relationship. But then after each achievement, they feel emptiness again, because when we place conditions on joy, we implicitly deny the beauty already blooming at our feet. In the countryside of Lam Dong, a woman named Han lived alone in a small hut among the pine trees. She used to be a university lecturer, had a family, a city house, a private car. A stroke made it impossible for her to walk normally. Her husband left. Her career stalled. Friends gradually faded. Everything seemed to collapse. But one time, sitting in a wheelchair watching the sunset from the rented porch in Dalat, she burst into tears, not from sadness, but because for the first time in many years she saw the colors of the sky without glass between her and it. From that moment on, she moved into the forest, sold embroidered artwork online, taught herself how to grow vegetables, to play flute, to photograph flowers and plants with an old phone. Someone asked, "Do you feel regret?" From a successful person to living like a hermit. She smiled and said, "I no longer have as much as I used to. But I have never lived more deeply than now. I see each sunbeam clearly. I hear every tiny sound in the forest. Right in this moment, I already have enough. No completeness lies in the future. Only the awareness of fullness in the present has the power to truly heal." When you still think, "Someday I will feel peace," that day will always drift ahead. But when you sit down, place your hand on your heart, realize that although today is not perfect, you still have breath, you can still love, you can still learn, you can still be silent, then you are no longer one searching. You have become someone truly living. Expectations are lowered, desires are released. Everything seems unchanged, but your inner world has become as spacious, bright, and gentle as a room with its windows flung open after a long closed in winter. Once, an orphaned child was brought to the temple. On the first day, the child cried non-stop. The nuns took turns comforting, feeding, giving toys, telling fairy tales. But the child's eyes stayed dull with sorrow. One afternoon, the wind changed, and the eldest nun in the temple came to the child, placed a dry Bodhi leaf into their hand, and whispered, "Take this. This is a gift from the wind." The child stared at the leaf, fondled it for a long time, and then smiled for the first time. From that day on, the child began running around the temple courtyard, counting each fallen flower petal, collecting dry leaves, making a pebble a friend, laughing out loud when a raindrop landed in their palm. No one taught the child about fullness, but the child learned it with a child's heart, a heart not yet conditioned by comparison, competition, expectation, a heart completely present with every living moment. It can take many years for an adult to return to that state of simplicity. But it is never too late. No matter where you are, what you are doing, or what burdens you carry, you can still pause. Take a deep breath, and open your heart to presence. There is no need for a grand reason. All it takes is to acknowledge that this moment, though imperfect, though not what you may have wished, is still the only place you can truly live. A smile that is not forced, a gentle touch on the back of the hand, a sip of water taken with gratitude. These are all tangible expressions of abundance, not coming from the outside, but rising quietly from deep within. As night falls, as the light fades, as every goal of the day comes to rest, allow yourself to sit still. No need to judge whether today was good enough. No need to list all that fell short. Just look deeply into one small thing that is still here, the slow spin of the fan, a breeze gently touching your skin, your heart still beating, your spirit still capable of feeling. Then smile and whisper, "I am already full." Right in this moment, do not try to feel anything special. Let that sentence be like a drop of water quietly soaking into dry soil. You might not notice anything right away, but over time, that simple moment will become a wellspring that nourishes your soul, helping you pause, listen, and live a little lighter each day. Thank you for walking this path with me, a path that is not rushed, not judged, not pressured to change anything. Just a small pause together, sitting quietly in the middle of a world spinning fast, to listen to the small things we have forgotten for far too long. The 5 meditation phrases you just experienced are not healing formulas. They are breaths that have been reawakened. Each phrase is like a seed quietly planted into the soil of your consciousness. It may not sprout right away, but it will grow each time you pause, breathe deeply, and live fully. You do not need to remember everything you just heard. Just carry one feeling with you, that even in your most tired moments, you can always come back to yourself. You are not alone, because in every returning step, there are thousands of other hearts also searching for peace just like you. You may not see them, but together we are lighting up the small corners of this world, with stillness, with gratitude, with acceptance, and with unconditional love. If tonight's meditation phrases touched something in you, a place that needs no words, no reasons, then you have already begun a very precious journey. There is no need to rush. Come back to these words whenever you need, or simply lie down, close your eyes, and let peace slowly spread, like the drift of soft incense. Here at Silent Soul Garden, we do not teach you how to live. We simply open a small door, so you can walk into your own inner garden, a place where you have always been full, always worthy of love, of rest, and of healing. If you wish to keep sharing moments like this with us, you can press the subscribe button, as a quiet way of saying, I am ready to return more often. Wishing you a gentle night, a deep and restful sleep, a soul held softly by the love you offer to yourself. Until we meet again, on another quiet evening,